Has to be good. Stews in here.
Pause Twins Podcast. This will be a damn good show. We got Stu Peters in the house.
Oh.
Yeah, it's always fun having Stu. It's doing like he going to the club. Joe, man.
What did you say when I came in?
Look like you finna go pick up some black bitches at the club.
I mean, you know how I roll. It's always an experience coming here, though. Like on the way here, I was at the airport, and I was in Minneapolis, and the flight. I didn't bring my ID or my passport either, so I have no idea if I'm getting on a flight going back.
Yeah, you
So
just
I might
take the ID, right?
Might be staying with you guys tonight, but yeah, no, they just they scan your face.
Oh, yeah.
You know all the things. It's actually really kind of nerve-wracking, disturbing, really.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize until I was checking into my hotel. I don't have my passport. I don't have my ID. They were like, well, we can't check you in. So I had to have a copy of my passport, like a photograph of it taken and sent to me. So I was able to show it. They booked me in, thank God. But anyway, I'm at the airport in Minneapolis. I was talking to Alex. He works for me. And, you know, it was one of these things. And it's like, it's just every single time it's with these people. And it was like Trump was talking about something, and then there was like Silverstein has purchased the U.S. Bank Tower in L.A.
Yeah,
I'm encouraging people to work remotely if you're anywhere around that. So I was just, you know, I'm like, it's every single fucking time with these people, and I started to get, you know, like a little bit loud, and there was some people that were around me, and
Welcome.
it's like I just, you know, and. We're having conversations like this where people are like, yeah, you're right, bro. You're right. They're overhearing my phone conversation. They're like, yeah. You know, and it's just like, there's a lot of stories that I have like that since I was here last and since Occupied came out of how we're having conversations now that people would have never dreamed of having. It would have made them like shudder in fear 6 months ago, a year ago.
Yeah.
And so, it's always interesting traveling to Vegas. Very interesting people when you get here, having a similar conversation in the lobby of the hotel. I'm overhearing people having conversations about this war, Jeffrey Epstein, just like regular people talking about how, you know, like Trump is completely compromised.
Yeah, I went to church yesterday, and I hadn't been there in like a couple months.
So what brings you in?
So this guy comes up. He's like, dude, huge fan. I like how y'all calling Trump out on your Facebook. Keep doing it. And he said, I'm going to pray for you guys. He said, but don't stop. Always go for what the truth is, right? And I was like, because me and you were like, we haven't really came out too much. Yeah. On Twitter we have. Yeah. Well, you know,
So
Twitter and
what are you
Facebook are
waiting
totally...
for?
Well,
I mean-
Facebook, you can't take it but so far, but Twitter is like free speech. You can say whatever you want, but Facebook, you got to be a little careful because you would get strikes for, I forget the term that they use, you got to be objectionable. Your post has got to be objectionable. So if I go too hard, I could end up getting a ding. It happens to me all the time.
Well, so Apple Podcasts and Spotify have the same thing. They will ban you for what they call objectionable content. What does that even mean? And who's deciding what's objectionable?
Like you not being objective. I was like, I looked at it, you can't really have a too strong of an opinion.
I'm going to bet the people who are making the arbiters of that decision are probably in an office on Rothschild Boulevard somewhere. I would
more
imagine.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. But
Getting my smoke
I'm just
on.
kind of frustrated.
It's been a long day.
It's like on the right, they don't see how this could spiral out of control and like just destroy the GOP.
It took 3 weeks.
It took 3 weeks for them to figure out we was in a war. They kept saying we wasn't in a war. I was like, man, are you really that stupid? And then they started saying this. Well, it's been a 47-year war. Trump's going to end it. I was like, you mother. I'm like, man.
This guy was named 37,000 times in the 3.5 million files that we have in this, you know, this tranche of Epstein documents.
Yeah, right.
And you got people saying, well, he's just completely vindicated because Trump said, well, this totally exonerates me. I'm only mentioned 37,000 times. And now, you know, there was this congressman that went in and looked at these unredacted files. I forget what his name was. But, you know, heroically, then he puts these things on the big, you know, the big tag board, and he comes out onto the congressional floor, on the House floor, and he takes these unredacted files that we weren't supposed to see that show that Trump is all up in these files raping girls.
That's what Ted Lewis said. I was like, I haven't went too in depth in the files, and I haven't seen any of that.
You don't have to go that far.
Yeah.
It's very obvious. How can you how could anybody perform gymnastics, mental gymnastics, to convince themselves after 37,000 mentions and what it says about him and who he was around, and that he was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend? His wife, Melania, was introduced to him by another Epstein associate, Paolo Zampoli.
That's what Hunter Biden said, but everybody discredited him because it's, Joe Biden's son.
I got the Epstein library.
Howard Lutnick was, is this the Ian Carroll thing?
No, this is the PDF.
Oh, okay, yeah, got you. But Ian Carroll also did something where there's a database, like there's a web app where you can search for anything. It'll compile all the data for you. You guys should have him on to talk about that. But
So he's been accused of raping kids?
yeah, he's like, it's right there. What he did. There's women that have given testimony about when they were little girls about how, Donald Trump wore a glove or made her wear a glove to give him a hand job because nobody's allowed to touch Mr. Trump's penis.
Germaphobe. What?
Huh? This is all in there. I mean, you can clearly see all of this stuff, and nobody wants to believe
crazy
that.
Concept, bro.
I don't want to believe that.
Yeah, I don't either.
I mean, I want to support it. I don't want my president, no matter who it is, I don't want my president entangled in a child sex trafficking pedophilia scandal. I'm sorry, I just don't like presidents that are banging kids. I think that's not representative of the values that our country was founded on.
Pretty scary, actually.
It is. And what's scarier, though, is that it's right there for everyone to see, publicly available and discoverable, and that people will just openly deny that.
Right.
So that's, I think, the conversation. Where does that come from? Why are there so many people? I mean, so you said that you had a guy in church tell you keep on going on Trump.
Right.
How much blowback have you gotten from other people?
Oh, man, we're like the woke right now. That's what they label us as. We're grifters. We're fake MAGA. We're Democrats in the sky. If we're grifters, we wouldn't have anything critical to say of Trump.
You're anti-America.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what they're saying. And it's like, I found out that, I thought we were the ones on the right. I thought we was way more objective than people on the left, but no. We're the same side. We're different sides of the same coin. Both sides have a
Can you believe the lunatic left was right about so many things? Especially when it comes to war and look, this Donald Trump stuff being in the Epstein files, this is why we're at war. This is why Charlie Kirk is dead. So I have personally, what's that? Yeah, let's see that.
So why are Republicans so interested in Bill and Hillary Clinton? It's because they're trying to distract from the fact that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files thousands and thousands of times. In those files, there's highly disturbing allegations of Donald Trump raping children, of Donald Trump threatening to kill children. So I encourage your press to go look at these allegations, and I'm highly disturbed that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche just got the law wrong. Yesterday, he said, essentially, that it is not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein. Well, that's actually not correct. If Jeffrey Epstein was human trafficking minors for these sex parties, and you show up and patronize
we learning about
the establishment
Epstein Island
at that party, yes,
even though
you're guilty because patronizing is part of the law, of the federal sex trafficking law. So General Todd Blanche just got that wrong, which maybe explains why they aren't investigating all these folks, including Donald Trump. He needs to read the law and investigate these people. He also needs to resign, not only for not knowing the law, but a massive, not only screw up, but the biggest privacy violation in history. They release a lot of pictures of minors unredacted, just violated the privacy of these girls. It is uncalled for what they did. The one thing that they could not do under this law was to invade the privacy of these women now who were girls at the time who were victims of sex trafficking. Also, he met with Ghislaine Maxwell, moved her to a minimum security prison, and then got a puppy for her. So for all those reasons, he's just got to leave the apartment.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. He got her a puppy?
He got his girl a puppy. Really?
That's crazy.
I mean, he basically, effectively, he let her out of prison. She's living on some, who even knows where she is? She's probably on the world's biggest Epstein Island with Epstein in Israel.
Yeah. A puppy? I bet that's a cute puppy, too.
Did you You have heard now that the FBI has been forced to admit that they removed the hard drive off of the CCTV security footage from the lockup facility where Jeffrey Epstein was being held. And that Kash Patel knew that. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
there was no video footage.
I'm starting to think if anybody believes the government, they either chew fucking crayons or they work for the government.
Oh, yeah, no. They removed the hard drive itself from the computer that controls the CCTV security camera footage at that prison. They removed it. So what that tells you is that everything that we have seen, all the videos that we have seen of Jeffrey Epstein's lockup facility have been fake. Like manufactured, like fake.
Right.
Like cartoons, like AI, like fake.
They released some videos. They said it was recovered the 2 hours that was missing.
Yeah,
initially.
remember that?
But if you look at it, it looks fake as hell.
Remember originally there was like, okay, here it is. Yeah. Well, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel went on like this tour.
I remember that.
They looked like hostages. They were sweating. Bongino's eyes were all bugging out of his head. He was visibly just shook. I mean, he was pissed. He always is, and I don't blame him. I'm really, actually, I'm very happy to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that secretly Dan Bongino is just like losing his shit.
Yeah.
He's panicking. Have you seen his ratings?
Yeah, I'm looking at his Facebook post, and he's like attacking the woke right. And it's like, I'm reading his comments. I'm like, he cannot be reading his own comments.
He's attacking anybody who's pointing out Israel. As being behind any of this. That's his whole job. He's still a Fed.
Yeah.
He's just now playing a different role. And they just reassigned him to pretend to be a podcaster again and go and attack everybody who's pointing out the fact that Israel.
Which makes him and his podcast just one big psyop.
It is. Yeah, I mean, 100%. Yeah, he's a paid, he's a Fed. And, well, I mean, this is the guy that sat down for an interview prior to taking his job as deputy director of the FBI, and he was asked point blank, what are you the most passionate about?
I remember that.
Here you've got the opportunity to be like, well, I'm passionate about arresting, hunting down child sex trafficking pedophiles or, racketeering, embezzlement, whatever. No.
It's dear to my
Protecting Israel,
the defense of Israel.
Yeah, the defense
that is
of
so
Israel.
weird when we got people in our government, popular podcast, Ted Cruz saying that's the most important thing to them, and it's not the American people. It's kind of weird. It's just like the left is. Their most important asset to them is illegal immigrants. With the right, it's Israel. It's like we are the different sides of the same coin.
It is. It really is, and it's all really the same coin, and it's all the same side. It's one-dimensional. It all comes from there. So I mean, they make these wedge issues. Immigration being a left issue versus a right issue, mass deportations, or what the right is in favor of.
Starting to be I think it's just a distraction.
Of course it is, because the reason why all of these people are here in the first place is because we've spent decades bombing the fuck out of their countries on behalf of Israel.
Right.
So where do these displaced people go? Well, they flood into the West. They ultimately end up here. I call them the weapon. They're the Jew weapon. These are the people that have dirty bombs and weapons caches deep into the interior of our country, and they come here with a disdain for America. Oh, well, we had to go and bomb Iran because, Iran chants death to America. Who wouldn't?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we spent 20 years in Afghanistan teaching the importance of transgenderism to Pashtun tribesmen looking the other way while warlords fucked little boys. And, it turns out that the Afghanis would rather have the Taliban than anything that the American war empire has to offer.
Right, because as soon as the U.S. backed out of Afghanistan, it was like we were never there. The Taliban
We just handed the keys right back over to the Taliban. So thanks for having us. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Right, so how are they going to be successful in Iran? If you was in Afghanistan for 20 years, you couldn't do it. Regime change. How are you going to do it in Iran?
I think
in a span of a couple months.
I mean, that is something that we should really dig into. Is what that physically looks like, because there are inevitably, it's baked in. People looked at me like I was crazy when I said we're going to war with Iran. Here we are. Okay. Well, it's a special military operation. It's not a war. So, but boots on the ground, I said right away that was going to happen. This is the definition of the forever war. They can't stop it. It's not like we're just going to go in there and stop it, because if they were going to do that, if there was going to be a benchmark for success, then it would have been after Operation, what was it, Midnight
Fury or something like that.
No, that's
the first one.
Fury, Midnight Madness. Midnight Madness, whatever the fuck.
Midnight Hammer.
The one back in
Hammer,
January.
yes, there it is.
Midnight Hammer.
Well, we completely obliterated their nuclear capabilities. That's what I was told. I remember that.
That's what Trump said.
A decapitation strike was the terminology that I was told. I remember that.
They dropped these special weapons that went 40,000 feet into the ground, something like that.
We got
bunker busters.
Bunker busters, yeah.
But now we're being told that the reason for this escalation was because, well, they decided they were going to do it again. Yeah, they were really committed this time to developing nukes. But we obliterated that. It was a decapitation strike. You told me that.
You got to be an idiot to believe that.
Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, Mike Johnson, Donald Trump, everybody who's close to this, they've all now said the reason why we are at war with Iran is because Israel dragged us into this war.
Right. Right.
Benjamin Netanyahu has said that. They've all admitted that there's no reason why we're at war other than Israel has dragged us into this. Now, we can get deep into why and about how this is, the conquest of greater Israel, that this is a spiritual crusade, and that it doesn't matter if Netanyahu is dead or alive because this is an initiative that's going to, it's not the man. So when you're looking at this occupation, when you're looking at this war or any sets of circumstances that bring plight to the American people, economic suffering,
he still believes
the tearing down of our defense systems, the removal of your.
I just saw him on the news twice, so I'm not buying into that. By the way,
what to do if your government becomes oppressive to those rights, which is to abolish that form of government, to tear it down. You would be derelict in your duties if you didn't tear down that government and replace it with one that's representative of the people. So, this is about a system. It's not about Netanyahu. It's not about Trump. These are actors, obviously, that are playing their roles. But this is about a system with an end goal. And I think that that's why we're seeing, kind of the explosion in the pace. Because, the world's on fire right now. We're talking about a ground invasion of Iran, which we should come back to. Russia is going to be involved. Putin has already said, if Israel uses a nuclear weapon in the Middle East, we're going to drop a nuclear bomb on Israel.
Who's stopping them? Who's going to contest them? Is our president going to address that? Oh, is he scared of Putin? That's crazy.
So Putin is saying that. This BRICS alliance, of course, first and foremost, it's an economic alliance, but you'd be retarded and naive to not believe that there's a military component to all of this, and they're already showing that.
Right.
The Iranian airspace, when it was closed at the beginning of all of this, what was landing there? Well, Chinese fighter jets, Chinese troop deployment, Chinese aircraft were landing there because they're going to have Iran's back. And of course, Iran and China and Russia are very closely allied with Venezuela. Venezuela is not a full-fledged BRICS member yet. They came up twice, but Spain, neighboring Spain, which is completely occupied by a Rothschild central bank, they kind of vetoed that, that BRICS membership. But they're still very closely allied. And we just went into that country, a sovereign nation in the Western Hemisphere, and kidnapped their president.
Yeah, right.
And we did all of that, again, for another Jewish billionaire, Paul Singer, who acquired Citgo in a Delaware court, presided over by an AIPAC Jewish judge, of course. And, it was a strong-arm deal. These people are vulture capitalists, He's no different than Larry Silverstein, who purchased the Twin Towers, who also purchased U.S. Bank Tower in L.A.
Yeah, but Trump
where the drone strikes are supposed to happen, by the way. Remember, we're supposed to have, massive drone swarms that are going to take out L.A.?
Yeah.
But Iran can't reach L.A. with drones. Iran can't reach our country with any intercontinental ballistic warheads.
Right.
They couldn't have reached us with a nuke, which basically blows the entire premise of this operation all to hell anyways. But needless to say, here we are, double tap striking schoolgirls, elementary age schoolgirls.
Right, yeah.
Committing war crimes, talking about infrastructure.
Yeah, they're using the same narrative for Venezuela. Oh, we're going to free those people of that country.
Liberate
we're freeing
those people.
Liberate. Yeah. We're going to liberate the people in Iran. Yeah. It's all the same talking points. Yeah. And then Trump
threatened, and it has been for decades.
Yeah, then Trump threatened to say he's going to blow up their power plants, which is another war crime.
Which is, that's an international war crime. You can't do that. You cannot leave millions. See, the problem with Iran is that the American people have been programmed to believe that Iran is some third world shithole. It's some isolated backwater.
Yeah.
Filled with low IQ goat herders.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
No,
right.
This is a predominantly Aryan nation. This is a civilized nation. This is a Persian country that has a capital city that dwarfs New York City, or at least it is bigger than New York City. I don't know about dwarfing. 90 million people, I think, is the population in Tehran.
Yeah.
We're just going to go in and blow up all of their energy infrastructure and leave them without electricity. And then we're talking about hitting desalination plants to leave them without fresh water.
Right.
Wow. Right. So you're going to have what, 90 million dead people?
Right.
Civilians?
Yeah. Yep.
You can't do that. That is a war crime. And, you know, now he's had to pull back on that a little bit. He said that he's negotiating with some ghost figure. I think it's this Reza Pahlavi, you know, this Shah, this Reza Pahlavi. He's another one of these actors.
He was exiled from, is that the Crown Prince?
Yes.
That was exiled?
Yes.
Okay,
and they have been pushing forever. He's all over the Fox News channel. He's with Laura Ingraham every day, and with Dan,
of course,
Dan Bongino had him on, I think. I don't know, but you know, all these shills, they have this guy on because he's like the fake CPAC version of the leader of Iran.
Oh, hell,
this guy. And so they want to install this guy so badly because obviously he is a puppet of the system. He's part of the system that he'll bend over for Israel, and he will allow for the conquest of greater Israel to happen. He'll help to facilitate the destruction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque.
That's supposed to be, that's Tehran. That's like the cities of Iran.
Yeah, wow. Look at this. I mean, this is not some, you know.
Listen to Fox News, you think people just on camels.
This is not like some desolate Afghanistan or, you know, like you can't even pretend that some madman is hiding in a cave somewhere.
Right. And they keep using that same talking point. Oh, we can't let them get a nuclear weapon. Who the hell gets a nuclear weapon and start a nuclear war with two nuclear superpowers? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, the only people that have a nuclear weapon that threatens the United States at this point is Israel.
Right.
You know, and then they have the Samson option where they can point these things at us and completely blow everybody off the face of the map. And the troubling part about that is that these people, I believe, have agreed to mutual self-destruction before they will allow for the world to see what's in those Epstein tapes. This is the catalyst. I mean, these people are all, look, they're eating kids. You know, they're torturing and dismembering and sacrificing and eating, cannibalizing children. Some of the most insane, impossible to believe things that you can't even imagine were happening to children by these people that are pulling the strings, that have control of militaries, and that, you know, that move the ball down the road toward greater Israel, to the building of the third temple, the sacrificing of the heifers, playing in their ashes, and
explain that to
ushering
me,
in the
greater
Messiah.
Israel. What does that look like?
Well, Netanyahu has brought the map to the White House, which keeps changing. It keeps expanding.
Right.
And, you know, so greater Israel this is the vision that the Jews believe that they were chosen by God to inherit, which is, you know, all of this land that encompasses the Holy Land, which is where their Messiah is supposed to return to and sit on the throne. Well, so any Christian would obviously understand that the Messiah has already come, which was Jesus Christ.
Right.
And that there's already a new covenant, that nothing else is needed, that you don't have to burn heifers alive, you don't have to play in their ashes, you're already covered in the blood. Right. You're already promised eternal life should you call on Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, that you should repent, seek out the Church of Christ, be baptized in his name. You know, it's really not a brain buster of a recipe, because Jesus Christ says in the red print in the Bible exactly what to do. You don't even need a brick and mortar church, and a lot of them have turned into bastardized versions of Christianity anyways through the introduction of the Schofield Reference Bible, etc. But they believe that they're going to usher in. So to any Christian, obviously that would sound like the enemy of Christianity.
Right.
Right? Because that would be the Antichrist, because it's not the Savior, it's not the Messiah. That Messiah has already died for all of us, for our sins, to cleanse all of humanity, to offer us eternal life and salvation, and was resurrected and now sits on the throne. So we don't need this, but this is what these people believe, that they were chosen by G-D, whoever that is. I don't know why they spell it like that. It's really weird.
Yeah. Tucker alluded to on one of his podcasts, a video came across my feed on Facebook, that a lot of the Israeli soldiers are wearing these patches of the third temple.
They have the patch of Greater Israel on their arm sleeve. They have the map. So originally, when I started talking about this a while ago,
okay, that's it.
and so this includes parts of Ukraine. You know, so you can see
Iran?
why. Yeah, you can see why Iran has to fall. It's the last domino on the way. It's the last bastion of resistance on the way to, you know, the conquest of Greater Israel.
Oh, okay, I see.
And see there how it goes into Syria. This is why they're, you know, at Jordan. All of these countries that the United States, the American war empire, along with this out of control genocidal Israeli war machine, as they've been just like for decades. Expanding because they have been on the march and they have been militarily cleansing everybody that stands in their way.
So what they're doing in the West Bank and Gaza, that's what they want to do for parts of Iran.
And Iran.
All of Iran.
Yeah, all of Iran.
Yeah.
Iran stands in the way.
That's on their patch. That's on their
And so there is the patch
it's exact
of
layout.
Greater Israel, and they have it. So when I originally said this, which was like, I don't know, like 2 or 3 years ago now, I said, well, this is all about Greater Israel. People are like, well, what is that? And then I think it was the Rolling Stone came out and said, well, Stu Peters is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist, and I don't know what this Greater Israel thing is. They wear the fucking patch on their sleeve.
Yeah. Validating
So
what you said.
You know, I just tweeted that, and then they didn't have anything.
Yeah,
much else to
validating what
say.
you said 2.5 years ago, but they called you anti-Semitic. But they're wearing it on their uniforms.
Well, they don't. The war's not about that. It's about the nukes. You can't have nukes.
Yeah, well, and liberating the Iranian people.
Yeah.
Spreading democracy, of course.
Did you see Trump with that hat? Make Iran great again. It was red and everything.
Yeah.
That was also Lindsey Graham, which is Lockheed Martin and Raytheon's biggest butt slut. This guy, oh my God.
Right.
This guy's a psychopath. Did you
He
hear
is.
him
Yeah, I saw-
screaming about Cuba?
Yes. Yeah. And
It's
talk
like-
about what we did in Iwo Jima. It said
And
we-
Cuba's next, he says.
Yeah.
This is a guy, by the way, for everybody that doesn't know this in your viewing audience, Lindsey Graham, it's an open secret, is a homosexual. He's a childless homosexual who rents young male prostitutes in D.C. Everybody that runs in the D.C. circles knows this. You can ask around. Marjorie Taylor Greene probably talk about it nowadays. Matt Gaetz might talk about it nowadays, too. You know, anybody who's being honest will probably talk about that nowadays. But there's this guy is talking about, well, wait till you see what's going to come in the next couple of weeks. And I think it was Maria Bartiromo was interviewing him, and she goes, well, what's coming? And he goes, we're going to blow the hell out of these people. And then he was like, and I've got this hat right here, make Iran great again. And he shows that, and he goes, you want to see what other hat I have? And it was like Cuba. And he's like, and we're coming for Cuba next. And then Trump says, we're just going to take Cuba. Like, what do you mean? We're just going to take it.
So Dave, I just learned the other day that they cut off all the oil going to Cuba, and these people are like pretty much starving to death. They have no electricity. No,
And why is that?
you tell me.
Well, I mean, this is the first time that I've heard about this in recent history. You know, the Cubans aren't bitching and complaining about constantly being out of power and starving and,
Right.
you know, dying of thirst.
Right.
But all of a sudden, now that the United States is talking about taking Cuba, that the president is talking, well, I'm going to have the distinct honor of taking Cuba. Been talking about it for a long time. I guess it's going to be me. I get to have the honor of taking it. What do you mean? Okay, so this is like an imperialist administration.
Right.
We've already taken Venezuela, where I guess Trump is the interim president there. Now we're going to do Cuba. Colombia is on the chopping block. Greenland, I think, is where they want to put all the data centers.
and defense
Difficult to get
systems.
at those.
But it's a difference when we talk about troops on the ground.
I trust the Marines, not that guy. I trust DOD. We got 2 Marine expeditionary units sailing to this island. We did Iwo Jima. We can do this. The Marines, my money is always on the Marines.
But it's a difference.
He's talking about the Marines like they're like Terminators.
They're a superhuman force that's, you know, capable of penetrating any borders.
You shared a dramatization, an animation, a little video what it was like to
The Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, the Strait of Hormuz for us to actually go in.
Yes.
That's like a suicide mission.
It's 100%
flows through this
You gonna pull it up, Joe?
21-mile wide strip. Iran owns one side and has it locked down tight. Mobile anti-ship missiles hidden in the mountains, thousands of sea mines, swarms of explosive speedboats, diesel subs hugging the coast, Mach 3 ballistic missiles that can reach a carrier from 200 miles out. Iran has drilled closing the strait for decades. It's not hype, it's a ready-made kill zone. Send in an American carrier strike group to commandeer it. Confined waters. No room to maneuver. Iran saturates the sky with cheap ballistic missiles that maneuver at Mach 3. Swarm boats scream in at 50 knots. Mines shred propellers. Subs fire torpedoes at point blank. Pentagon war games are brutal. Ships sunk. Hundreds of sailors dead in 48 hours. The strait blocked with burning wrecks. Oil spikes to $300 a barrel, and the global economy implodes. Pure meat grinder. Jagged Zagros Mountains, vast central desert, narrow passes. Land invasion to secure it from inside? Iran is a fortress on steroids. The Zagros Wall, 900 miles of rock and ice, funnels attackers into kill zones. Then 500 miles of salt-flat desert that melts tank tracks. Every city sits in a mountain bowl. Terrain where a handful of defenders with RPGs and drones can stop a division cold. Bigger than Texas and California combined. 88 million people who will actually fight. Supply lines collapse instantly. Body bags stack faster than Vietnam. America talks tough. Reality doesn't care. Any strike group or invasion force walks straight into a meat grinder, built over decades by geography and firepower. The strait stays locked. The price in blood and dollars is never worth paying.
The AI stuff is difficult with the voice inflection. They never really do it right. It's kind of
Should have
awkward.
chose me
It's
for
like,
the
yeah,
voice.
but you get the idea here, though.
Yeah.
Trump might have bit off a little more than he can chew serving the Jew, and now we have like this. I mean, I think that Normandy, some of the iconic footage that you see of D-Day on the beaches, and that obviously it's all through academia. It starts when you're in, I guess, middle school or whatever appropriate age is, that these psychopaths believe that they can start showing children like death. This is what you do. This is what you do. Toby Keith, put a boot in your ass. That's the American way. You know, this is the mighty, the almighty American war empire. Don't fuck with us.
Yeah. This whole war is based on the Greater Israel Project. I don't think it has
100%.
nothing to do with
It
nuclear
has
bombs.
nothing to do with nukes.
Yeah.
This has everything to do with pedophiles and with Greater Israel. And they're synonymous, I mean, at this point, because that's where they live. This is a safe haven for pedophiles. We've proven that. Tom Alexandrovich, Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, people keep saying he's not an agent of Israel. It's total BS. Who's that guy that was a pedophile who was going to stand trial here in the States? Who was in D.C. and they flew him out to Israel?
That was Tom Alexandrovich. He worked directly for the Israeli Cybersecurity Directorate. He was here on American soil for the purpose of petitioning social media platforms to censor Americans online. And
A foreign country.
And to take down any posts that could be perceived as anti-Semitic, and then was bragging about how 40,000 takedown requests were done in one day by Meta. That was this guy.
Yeah.
Then he tried to rape a mentally handicapped American child, and he was caught right here in this state by Nevada authorities, and he was thrown in jail where he was awaiting probably arraignment and, a judicial process, I guess.
Right.
Which never happened because the Trump administration intervened
and flew him out to Israel.
And flew him to Israel, where
he is the head of the Technological Defense Department.
The state prosecution received almost 30. I think it handled 26,000 and received about 40,000 inquiries starting from the 7th of October regarding inciting content.
Yeah.
About content that leads to demoralization, about some malicious content. This is huge data. 90% of this data is all under the Meta group, which includes Instagram, Facebook, and so on. There are organized.
So he's talking about censoring Americans?
He's talking about censoring Americans by submitting takedown requests as an official working on behalf of Israel for their cybersecurity directorate. And being that they're our greatest ally, cybersecurity is something that we have to take very seriously in working with our allied nations, because we don't want to compromise
cyber security means
the national security of our country.
Americans' criticisms.
Correct. So he works for the Israeli Cybersecurity Directorate, was here on U.S. soil to petition our social media platforms in our country in cooperation, full cooperation with our federal government, who saw to it that these requests were honored and that these takedowns were completed. And then in his spare time here in Nevada, he wanted to rape a mentally handicapped American child. And now he's in Israel.
That's wild.
I mean, that's it. That's the rest of the story for him.
I wonder why so many people on the right, because I think for the most part, people on the left has figured out that, they're not an ally. I wonder why somebody is it's just that heel to down here, being a Republican or conservative. They go to bat for these people and they attack any American.
Yeah. But I think we should go back to this Iran ground invasion idea. Well, you saw that AI video that we worked. I mean, that took hours and hours to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I should have just voiced it myself. But anyway, that is an impossible feat.
Right.
How many? Okay, so to effect a regime change successfully, obviously that cannot be done exclusively from the air. You have to have an occupying force, right? You have to occupy the territory.
Yeah. And pick their leaders for them.
You're talking about 90 million people just in Tehran. I don't know what the...
I think overall it's 130 million.
130 million people that will fight.
Yeah.
They know who their enemy is. They know who they're up against. You see their spokesperson calling them the Epstein army all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he knows that why we're doing this. I mean, he knows why. When I say we're doing this, I don't... Look, for anybody who's in Iran, just know the American people are diametrically opposed to everything that the American government is doing with its military right now.
Except for the boomers on the right.
And there is a generational divide there, but I think that that's actually closing as well.
Yeah. I think a majority of the stuff we see on Fox News about MAGA being 100% on board with this war, I think it's all bullshit.
That was a BS
That's bullshit.
I did have my dad actually sent me a text message. So my dad is 76. He's a Vietnam War veteran, and he was EOD. So he was ahead of the front lines and into the rice paddies and into the jungles and digging up undetonated landmines and bombs, putting them on helicopters, flying away with them. He tells a story pretty repetitively of how he lost like 8 of his brothers, watched them get blown up by some, undetonated bomb. I think he had to run back to the helicopter to get something, and there was an explosion, and he turned around and he saw the limbs of his brothers flying everywhere, and that was that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got extracted. And I try to have conversations with him, about Fox, because this is a guy who wakes up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day.
Mm-hmm.
He goes for a run. 76.
Wow.
You could strike a match on his stomach. For a long time, he was in better shape than I am. And he runs a dog kennel facility, so he's a very active guy. And he's got a lot of buddies that have a lot of money. My dad, he did very well for himself in like real estate development. He would buy like rural land in Wisconsin, and then he would, develop it into basically like nice game refuges. And then, some of these outfitters would come in and buy it. He would have, ponds dug and food plots planted and whatever. And so some of his rich buddies had been emailing him. So they communicate this. I've been getting some emails in my Outlook about you. I said, well, what is that? And he said, well, they're just saying that they really used to enjoy your show a whole lot, but now they can't listen anymore because they feel like, you're just like you're constantly blaming the Jewish people and constantly pointing to Israel, as being the source of all of the
strife.
Yeah. And I said, well, Dad, this actually reminds me of a story. Do you guys know Matt Baker?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Slave to Liberty. He's got the, so I met Matt Baker at the American Liberty Awards.
American Liberty.
Yes. And I gave a banger speech while I was there. And then they were at the hotel later. I sat down with Owen Schroyer. I love that guy. Just really good people. It was chill. And then Matt Baker came on the show right after that, and he was like, I'm just not. It wasn't that long ago. It was like October 7th, just kind of in that vicinity. It was after I'd gone on with Alex Jones, and he completely exposed himself while he was doodling and drawing the Seal of Solomon. But this guy's
heard y'all been feeding it.
So he's like, look, he goes, I really love all the work that you've done. But I can't get there with you on this Israel thing. And I said, well, I think my exact quote was, well, I was about 2 years ahead on COVID. I was about 2 years ahead on Epstein. You just take your time. I'll see you in a couple of years. We'll see. just recently, this guy, Matt Baker, released a song called Taxes to Pedophiles, paying taxes to pedophiles. So
right.
He totally gets it at this point. He's all in, he understands. And I think that this is a very uncomfortable conversation for the baby boomers to have.
Right.
Because once you see how wrong the ship has been steered, two things. Number one, you realize there's no way to right this ship in a short enough amount of time to where I will be alive to see it. And I'm very concerned about the future of this country for my children and my grandchildren. And so they would prefer to remain willfully ignorant, I think, because that's a really painful experience to have to go through.
Right.
It's not a lot different from parents who took their kids to the front of the line for the COVID shot and now realize that it was a bioweapon the whole time.
Right.
And, now their kid is like myocarditis or, some kind of weird brain tumor and progressive turbo cancer or something.
Right, right.
And so, like, admitting that you had something to do with that you were, like, sold out to this system and bought in, I think that's a lot for people.
It's hard to swallow.
And then, I also think that for the boomers, they would have to then basically admit that they are the generation that ushered all of this in, and that they were, I mean, what were they doing? They were living in their post World War II, post Vietnam, white picket fence homes, having their 2.2 kids and the golden retriever, and watching Leave It to Beaver and Ellen DeGeneres, and we now know horrific things about that bitch. But they racked up credit card debt, and they went to Disney World, and they lived the American dream. And they loved immigration, and like Ronald Reagan was the best president ever, who nearly ruined his entire home state of California with unfettered immigration.
Right.
And I think that if they were faced with this realization at this point in their life, that they would have to admit that they were responsible for that, and I just don't think that they want to go there. Now, I will say this: there's a lot of based boomers listening to the Stu Peters show,
right?
And you guys probably have come across some boomers that are very awake as well.
Yeah.
And they get mad at me because they're writing into the show or they're in the chat and they're saying, "Hey, I don't appreciate you. Yeah, I'm a boomer and I'm based." Okay, well, yeah, you are. But if you're being honest, then you would have to admit that your peers are not like you. The majority of your peers are going to be, diehard Republican, elephant, red, Trump supporting, conservative, military, 2A, pro-life, like all of the different boxes that you have to check off in order to be in this particular faction.
Yeah. Republican voters are warmongers.
And when you look at it, they are. And the Republican Party, they are as well. But, realizing that there is no such thing as a right and a left, that there is no Republican and Democrat. And what that boils down to is this can easily be demonstrated by the fact that, for example, when Donald Trump was talking about Iran and was talking about going to war, and he was delivering the State of the Union address, and he was talking about like blowing people up and like using the military. It was both sides of the aisle. It was one of the only times that they both stood up out of their seats and gave a big round of applause.
Yep.
The military-industrial complex that Eisenhower warned us about, we didn't heed those warnings, and now its front lines are in Israel, in this landmass that was purchased in 1948 and just arbitrarily scribbled on the map. So I think that if there were a way, for there to be one issue that is central to each boomer's home, and you were able to like point out to them what the source of this was, I think there you win, because then you're able to start peeling back the layers of the onion. But when you're on the internet screaming and yelling and using every slur in the book for 2 years, it becomes difficult. And I don't know, maybe that's just something that had to be done. I think it was very successful. And I'm going to take a lot of credit for that, because that was me. That was me on the internet. That was hyperbolic and using shocking language, and was taking it all the way there, because as I sat back, I could see that there were influencers who understood this. I could see that there were people that had big platforms that they knew these things, but they were being cute. They were being coy. They were being, they were edgy, but they were walking that line, and they weren't really, wanting to say it. And so I'm like, well, if I just go all the way, if I say these things in such an offensive way, that everybody just hates me and treats me like I'm toxic and like I'm a cancer or whatever. Fine. I've got a big platform because of COVID and because of George Floyd and because of, you know, like all these other things that we've done really well. I mean, we've done good work and we've been right a lot of times. I know I'm right about this. So if I just say these things, it will kind of clear the path for a lot of other people to then wade into the water. And then what happened? Well, then you have Candace Owens coming along and, you know, she was calling them the Frankists and whatever else.
Right.
Actually, Jake Shields asked me about that. And I said, look, what is the upside for Candace Owens to be talking about, you know, Jews?
Absolutely nothing.
She had it made. I mean, she really didn't have to do that at all. So if she has to go through her own, like, okay, well, because there's a lot of people who are like, well, maybe it's not the Messianic Jews. You know, it's not the Orthodox ones. It's, you know, maybe it's more the Hasidic or the Shabbat Lubavitch, you know, maybe it's just the Zionists, you know, well, okay, but let's discuss that because 109 countries have walked away from these people 1,034 times, I think it is. And that predated the political ideology of Zionism.
Right.
So Zionism is a weapon that's used by the Talmudic Jews that want to see the completion of the conquest of Greater Israel. This is a spiritual conquest. It's a crusade for them. And people try to, you know, take religion out of this or say, well, you know, I don't think that that's really central to all of this. But Jeffrey Epstein had a perfectly customized bookshelf, perfect shape and size, horizontally and vertically, to have every single book of the Talmud behind him at his desk. You know, and so like it's Talmudic Judaism is at the center of all of this. And so when you start looking at Donald Trump and you're thinking, well, but he's not a Jew, but really, I mean,
his
are
daughter
you sure
and his
about
kids, his grandkids are Jews.
And, you know, Fred, his dad, was really good, close friends with Netanyahu. And
I didn't know that.
And with the Kushners.
Is that the picture?
Yeah, there it is. Look at that. I mean, that is the Talmud. That's every book of the Talmud. And that is I mean, you don't just randomly move into your office and you're like, whoa, these fit perfect. That was built there for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just, what a blessing from G-D. You'll never believe it, honey. The Talmud fits perfectly in this space that I found just above the receivers where, you know.
What the fuck? That's crazy.
Talmudic Judaism is at the center of all of this. And you have to be able to, you know, be honest about that if you're going to opine on these issues with any kind of, you know, good intention. But going back to that, I think that what we did at my network for a year or a year and a half was really successful because now you have it became actually trendy for a while to, you know, name the Jew, right? Let's not pretend like we don't know that this is real. And people who politically they never really had much to say before. You know, they're like they're OnlyFans hoes, and they're naming the Jew, or they're, you know, like they don't. It's something that they just have nothing. And so talking about Jews and Jewish people and the Talmud and Greater Israel and all of these other things, it kind of like if you didn't notice, it's become like this surge.
Right.
And that's a problem for the ADL. It's a problem for Jonathan Greenblatt, who just was on yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but he was on talking to another Jewish person, and he was saying on some Jewish funded network, he was saying that it's not fair and it's immoral and it's not acceptable to blame Jews or to blame Israel for something that you don't like that's going on the other side of the planet. Well, excuse me, but that involves young American men, you know, having their blood soaking the soil of what you want to be Greater Israel.
Right.
Because there's no way for them to go in and get out of there. We would have to have 500,000. I mean, what are we talking about here?
Man,
you know,
that's
right?
a lot of soldiers.
I might watch the rest of that later. I actually did not.
Kind of take a few steps back here. This is a story. You know, 100 years from now, I can say this, that he's definitely knocking off balance a lot of terror regimes throughout the world, including Venezuela. I think he's sending a different message than has been sent. It's not the typical diplomatic message. This is kind of the Trump deal maker, where he comes in, and we've seen it multiple times when he offers with one hand a carrot, and with the other hand, if it's not taken, he's got Marines moving in. And I'm not sure that it's the incorrect way. I think we'll know when this is over. But I do, Pierce, kind of want to zoom out a little bit. I think, this is not a news story. I think we need to kind of take a few steps back here. This is a story that I can say as a Jew who's, we're going to be celebrating Passover in 2 nights. It goes back to the Passover story. It's really a question. Are we going to, stand up against oppression? Are we going to make a move that there's no guarantee what we're going to do, but we have a chance at changing a paradigm? Or are we just going to accept, okay, we're slaves, we're oppressed, and we're going to allow a terrorist regime that has expressly said they want to kill and destroy the United States multiple times. They've said that they want to destroy Israel. Are we going to allow them to become nuclear? Are we going to allow them to build up their ballistic missile program? Or are we going to say, something, there's no guarantee. But we're going to hearken back to a story that is 3,000 years old, which has inspired multiple stories throughout the world, which is, there's no guarantee. There's never been a guarantee to defeat evil, but there is one guarantee. If you don't stand up to it, you're going to lose.
Eamon Dean, you've made a point that you've got to filter out all the noise in a fast-moving situation like this and try and get to the reality of the movement of military assets. You say deployments don't lie, narratives do. The rest is theatre for markets, publics, and gullible media. And of course, that is often the case in every war. Again, from where I sit out here, it's not that I don't think that the Iranians are a very bad regime. They are, and have been since they took power in 1979. It's not that I'll lose any sleep over the death of Ayatollah Khomeini. He was an appalling human being who terrorized his own people, who sponsored terrorism all over the region, largely aimed at Israel. So I can totally get all that. However, launching such a full throttle attack on a country with 90 million people, where the regime clearly has a lot of firepower to protect itself, 250,000 of the IRGC, you have 500,000 paramilitaries, you have nearly 1 million regular army, that they've got a lot of people around to enforce their will. And so far, there's no sign of any public uprising. There are a number of reasons for that, not least of which bombs flying around. But I just don't see any sign of a victory here. I see a lot of bombs going off, a lot of show of military might, but I also see the Iranians winning the economic war quite easily and quite devastatingly. I'm looking at the markets, I'm looking at the oil production, gas production. And now I see Trump in a message this morning in which he talks about potentially going after desalination plants in Iran. Well, the first reaction of Iran to that would be to go after desalination plants in the Gulf states, which would be utterly devastating. I mean, for people who don't quite grasp what that means, you're talking about desert states that rely on desalination plants for water. If you get rid of those, they don't have much drinking water left before they all start dying. So these are incredibly bellicose, serious threats that Trump is lobbing out all the time, whilst at the same time saying, actually, you know what, we're talking to them and it should be over soon. I just find all this not just confusing, but borderline ridiculous.
Well, Piers, March 2019, so that's about 7 years ago, on my podcast, I talked about the reason why Saudi Arabia went to war in Yemen against the Houthis. And in that conflict, in that podcast, I said that one of the reasons is that Saudi Arabia wanted to protect, above everything else, water desalination. Because you see, during the Gulf War between Iraq and Iran between 1980 and 1988, and I grew up in the eastern province of Saudi Arabia at that time, and I was from Bahrain, so I know all about the situation in the Gulf at that time and how it was really harrowing and really threatening. But at the same time, the Saudis realized that their water desalination plants on the Gulf were under threat from Iran in a future conflict. Because since I grew up, I always hear about Iranian threats from across the water. So it's not something new. So the Saudis moved many of these water desalination plants to the west, to the Red Sea, even though it will cost far more, in terms of economics of doing it. However, then 2014, the Iranians chased the Saudis all the way into the southwestern flank of their country, and they pushed the Houthis into taking over the power in Yemen, and after a bloody civil war, and then they absolutely start threatening water desalination in the west of Saudi Arabia. So, Piers, the Iranians has been threatening to close the Straits of Hormuz since I was a 7-year-old child, and that was 40 years ago. I mean, I feel old now. And they've been threatening the water desalination of the Saudi Arabia and the other GCC countries for 40 years. And they've been threatening to attack energy facilities. In fact, the attack against energy facilities happened already at the hands of the Iranian proxies in September 2019 against Aramco, the biggest
Right, but what they've been
against...
given here is license to do it under the guise of retaliation, because
they had the license from a long time ago, Piers.
No, I'm not disputing what you're saying.
They didn't need a license anymore. They've always been doing it.
No, I understand, but to the world, what it looks like is that, all right, fair enough. Iran's getting bombed everywhere. The Israelis are bombing their refineries. Why shouldn't they bomb other people's refineries? So they're using everything that's happening to them as an excuse to do probably what, as you say, they've wanted to do for a long time. But what they have worked out is that they can control the global economy in a way that I think the Americans have massively underestimated. And I think it's come as a nasty shock. And that's
I don't think you can't win a war this way, Pierce. I mean, this kind of reasoning, I'll give you an example. Imagine there's an illegal arms dealer on your street, right? And so you call the FBI, you call the police, and they surround the house, and the guys inside the house start shooting at you, right? So what are you going to say? Oh, we gave them an excuse to shoot at us. We gave them license to shoot at us. No, if you're going to go after the arms, then the guys are going to pick up the arms that they're threatening, and you're going to use it. What's the difference? Iran would have used this anyway. They would have closed the Straits of Hormuz, Pierce. The difference is, had we waited, they would be closing the Straits of Hormuz with a nuclear threat, with an armed nuclear weapon. Could you imagine the price of oil? If there's a nuclear Iran, and they're crazy, right? I've got ballistic missiles landing next to my home with massive warheads, which if one of those landed in England, God forbid, and if it's unprotected, can take out 50 blocks. If we don't stand up now, this isn't giving license to them. This is trying to defeat them, and they're using whatever they have at their disposal.
Well, then it comes down. Okay, but then it comes down to how an impending threat you feel Iran was posing, and I am not convinced, as I wasn't by the argument about Saddam Hussein back in 2003. I am not convinced that there was an imminent threat from these weapons in the way that people have tried to sell it, and I think that's the problem. And I think that there are lots of bad regimes. There are lots of bad regimes around the world. Well, Dorian, there are lots of bad regimes around the world, like North Korea, that America does not attack, right? Even though every argument you would use against the Iranians works equally to the Iranians, to the North Koreans. So there are reasons you don't do this kind of thing.
Not at all. Not at all.
Well, okay.
Not at all.
Well, there's
Not
a okay, but no one's attacked North Korea.
I'm sorry. That's a false equivalence, Piers. Comparing North Korea to Iran. First of all, North Korea did not recruit 700,000 young men from across the region, from Iraq, from Iran also, from Yemen, from Lebanon, from Syria. They did not recruit all of these young people into joining non-state actors, terror militias, in order to destabilize their own countries and then attack neighboring countries with ballistic weapons. They were not supposed to get them in the first place. So you see, the problem here is, it's not, North Korea is just sitting in its own little box. Perfect. At least it is contained. It's a contained threat. However, Iran refused to be a contained threat. They expanded.
That's just not true. Let me, first of all, I think it's a good equivalent for a number of reasons. Yesterday, North Korea tested a ballistic missile that can reach the United States homeland. They're not sitting in their own. But I also believe it's a good comparison, because the United States and the 4 parties and then the 6 parties spent many, many years negotiating with North Korea. who convinced the world that they weren't going to build a nuclear weapon. We threw money at them, we threw food at them, we threw access to the international system, and they continue to say, no, we'll never develop a nuclear weapon. Do you think that Iran is not following that same playbook? Of course it is.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's true. Just hold fire, panel, for a moment. I want to bring in another guest now, General Sir Richard Sheriff. He's a former NATO commander. General, welcome to Uncensored.
Thank you for having me. Yes.
You've been pretty scathing about this. You've called Operation Epic Fury staggeringly arrogant. And you wrote in the Daily Mail, so we are living through, and as a lifelong soldier, I don't ask this lightly, the outbreak, are we living through the outbreak of World War III? Certainly, I can't remember a more perilous moment in geopolitics in my lifetime, and I'm now 70. I can't either. I'm actually 61 today, and I can't remember that either. As it's gone on, we're a month in now, does your fear about this escalating to that kind of level, has that increased or decreased?
My commentary. I think Trump is fumbling the fucking bag because he keeps telling everybody in America, oh, I'm making a deal with Iran. He's already said it twice, and both times Iran has responded and called him a clown and said it was fake news. I thought that was pretty funny. Israel's getting hit to the point where they're shutting off the internet and they're arresting people for taking videos and pictures of the missiles hitting. They're complaining to everybody that they're getting hit with cluster bombs and saying it's a war crime, and it's just very hypocritical coming from them, you know, because they're using white phosphorus chemical weapons on Lebanon right now. They're hitting civilian infrastructure, and they've been doing that for a long time. And they steal land, and they're apartheid. Like, they have their own roads for Palestinians and Israelis. Don't let me talk about that dumpster fire too much, but oh man, I've heard all kinds of stuff. Like, we're losing a lot of our defenses because we're using up so much. Apparently they shot down one of our fastest jets, which is like $1 trillion or something a piece. And I guess they just didn't think it would get shot down. And then they shot at one of our ships, like one of our carrier ships. And then from what I heard, they had to all retreat out of the strait. And now we're sending the ground troops. They keep talking about Karg Island, which is, I guess, like an oil pathway. And they keep talking about taking Karg Island. The problem with that is if they put 5,000 troops on a fucking island on the border of Iran, they're sitting fucking ducks, and they're just going to get pelted with missiles until one makes it through. And then the president's going to come up on screen and say, hey, our troops are dead. Look what Iran did. We got to go do something about it. And then they're going to say bring on the draft or something.
It's increased without question. I think the attack a month ago was launched without thinking through the possible consequences. I'm sure that military commanders would have war-gamed to death the potential for closing the Strait of Hormuz and would normally have taken sort of action to prevent it. But clearly it did not happen on this occasion. And I think the assumption was made that a lightning industrial scale aerial assault, such as we've seen, would be enough to do what? I mean, we didn't know. There's no clear design for battle. There is no clear strategy. There is no clear idea of how this war ends. I think, and my concern is that we are about to see escalation, potentially putting troops on the ground on the islands of the Strait of Hormuz or wherever. And then I think we have to take account of the linkages, the linkage between what's going on in Ukraine with Russia's genocidal war there, the fact that Russia is now supplying drones and targeting information to the Iranians. And I've no doubt there are further and wider linkages. So I think this is a deeply globally destabilizing event, not least, of course. It has completely knocked the global the potential for knocking the global economy awry in a major way. Let's not assume the Strait of Hormuz is going to be opened anytime soon, because if the Americans land amphibious troops in that, for whatever, on that coastline, this thing is going to run and run and run. And we're going to be back into a worse situation. You're probably not old enough to remember 1973 and the oil crisis then. Well, you might be, but we'll be back into that, but times 10.
Yeah, I was 8 actually then, but I do remember it vaguely. But I think the trouble is no one's learned the lessons from history, and I look at what's going on, and I think you were the Deputy Supreme Allied Commander for Europe. You see some of the rhetoric coming out of Donald Trump now. Very bellicose and negative about Europe, about NATO, about what he perceives to be the lack of cooperation here for Operation Epic Fury. If you were still in your old job, how would you be handling this?
Well, I think I would make the assumption that Donald Trump has pretty much single-handedly torpedoed NATO as an alliance. You have to understand, NATO is an alliance which flourished for pretty nearly 80 years. And it's based on trust. It's based on common values. It's based on the doctrine of collective defense, that the alliance is there to support an ally if attacked, the famous Article 5. From the moment we saw Trump 2 come into power, we saw Vance and Hegseth announce very clearly that America was not going to underwrite European security. Now, I get that because the Europeans, frankly, have been freeloading from America for decades. And so there's a part, Europe has a part to play in this. But then move forward. The fact that 2 months ago, Donald Trump threatened to attack the territory of a NATO ally, Denmark, over Greenland. Nobody has forgotten that. Europeans will not forget that. That is a grotesque breach of trust that the lead.
Who's live?
To, celebrate Palm Sunday. So the plan was to hold mass and broadcast it on the internet so others could, be involved, be included in this. However, Israeli police did not allow anyone to enter the church. They closed it, they shut it down. And they claimed that they had to do it. It was a necessary, very necessary safety precaution because of the Iran war. Are we worried about Iran bombing that church? Because I'm not. I'm definitely worried about the IDF doing that. I'm not worried about Iran doing it though. Now, they claimed that, again, it was necessary to keep people safe. I'm not buying it. For context, the Western Wall is mostly, but not fully closed. So if you want to visit the Western Wall, you'd still have the ability to do it. Elsewhere in Jerusalem, other holy sites have been allowed to remain open if they're close enough to a bomb shelter and if only 50 people come to worship at a time. And those sites include synagogues, churches, and some mosques. But Israeli police allege that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which again, that church is really important to people of faith, to these Catholic, people of faith. Allegedly, they didn't have sufficient access for emergency vehicles nor adequate shelter. That's the claim that they're making. Okay. Their decision, though, to shut that church down was met with a lot of backlash, and I think for good reason. So here's more from Tucker Carlson.
We know that, I believe, talking to people in Jerusalem this morning, that there were no synagogues completely closed. And we know that the Church of the Holy Sepulchre was not closed during the last 2 world wars. Mm-hmm. We know that the idea was to have a Catholic leader and 3 others in there for a live stream service, and that was banned. So it's hard to understand how this was done for safety reasons. And moreover, I wasn't aware that the government, the secular government of Israel, owned the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, or, by the way, the Dome of the Rock or any other religious building owned by someone else in East Jerusalem.
Yeah. That's kind of fucked up how Israel closed basically the biggest Christian holy site. But they didn't go close any synagogues or like any of that. They just like fucking with people and bringing the military in and telling them, oh, you can't, nope. Bunch of clowns. Ugh. Fuck. Excuse my French.
Now, there were other conservatives who were upset about this, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly, and Ted Cruz of all people. Now with Ted Cruz, it's probably like, oh, yeah, maybe this is a bridge too far and I have to, just push back a little bit to save any credibility I may have with Christians at this point. But Mike Huckabee, the US ambassador to Israel, who's a traitor to our country, here's what he wrote. This incident is an unfortunate overreach. No, it's not. It's not an unfortunate overreach. This was very much intentional. And you should talk about how Christians are treated in Jerusalem. You should talk about how Armenian Christians are treated in the Armenian square. You should talk about that. Didn't seem like you were too concerned about that, Huckabee, when you were being interviewed by Tucker Carlson. But anyway, let me continue with what he said. Unfortunate overreach already having major repercussions around the world. For the patriarch to be barred from entry to the church on Palm Sunday for a private ceremony is difficult to understand or justify. You're right, it's impossible to understand or justify, Huckabee. But aside from his statement, obviously, what is he gonna do about it? But there was enough outcry that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu eventually had to come out and do some damage control. So to protect worshipers, Israel asked members of all faiths to temporarily abstain from worshiping at the Christian, Muslim, and Jewish holy sites in Jerusalem's Old City. As soon as I learned about the incident with Cardinal Pisabella, I instructed the authorities to enable the patriarch to hold services as he wishes. And per Tucker Carlson's daily newsletter, he writes that Israeli leaders uncharacteristically apologized following Huckabee's rebuke, revealing that if America has the spine to pressure them into improving their behavior, they sometimes will change their ways. Washington should remember that. I agree, but they won't. Washington is occupied by the Israeli government, so they will do as they're told in most cases. But here's the thing, there are a lot of Christians in America who would not, and Catholics who would not take kindly to the poor treatment of individuals who have their same faith, being persecuted or treated poorly by the Israelis. And so this is about saving face. But what's important to note is how Christians are treated when no one is looking. Because this was a big thing that blew up. But on a regular basis, how are Christians treated? Because if you are under this assumption that like, oh no, Israelis just, I mean, the IDF just does mass slaughter of Muslims, no biggie, which is a gross thing to say, number one. But even if you think that it's just Muslims, they're the ones who get slandered endlessly by the Israelis. They're the ones who are dangerous, right? They're the ones with no power, no means to really defend themselves, especially in a country where they make up a pretty small population of people here in the US. But Christians, that's a pretty big population here in the US. And so Israel might get away with treating them poorly when no one's looking, but when it comes to freaking Palm Sunday and a story like this that blows up, you gotta save face. But make no mistake about it, if and when Christians become a problem for the Israelis, and what I mean by problem is, remember, they're expanding their borders. There's a lot of Christians living in Lebanon right now. Oh, they'll slaughter the Christians. They'll slaughter anybody. I think that should be clear to everyone at this point. So looking forward to hearing about the dangerous radical Christians. Looking forward to the Fox News segments about how we need to look out for the radical, scary Christians. Obviously, I don't believe that there are radical, scary Christians that need to be persecuted by the Israelis, but they'll be persecuted nonetheless. And the smears will begin, and it's very curious to see how the US responds to that.
He's a hothead. I fuck with that. Oh yeah, I was in the middle of this earlier. Circles around tree. This could be pretty funny. This guy's pretty funny.
I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Trigonometry show, but I've had quite a bit of disdain for them for a long time because, to me, they came out of that wave of like anti-woke obsession online where everybody and their grandma had a show or a podcast that was basically dedicated to like explaining how stupid purple-haired college kids are with a septum ring. And people built their whole politics, their whole ideology around that notion. That wokeness is bad, bro. Wokeness is terrible, bro. What are you triggered? Are you triggered like a little snowflake? And it was this like right-wing bullshit thing where they just echoed the same talking points back and forth to each other. Meanwhile, the irony of it all is they pretended like they were all so pro-free speech, and then Trump gets in there and wages an absolute nuclear war on free speech, and they're fucking nowhere to be found. Nobody's out there saying, hey, wait a second, are you deporting people for joking about Charlie Kirk? They literally did that, by the way. Are you throwing people in an ICE concentration camp for writing anti-genocide op-eds or participating in pro-Palestine protests on college campuses? They did all this shit, right? So they're just frauds. They're just frauds. They came out of like Rogan adjacent sphere, and it's just, I don't know. It's just something about them just icks me. It's just so aggressively fucking stupid and low IQ faux intellectual bullshit, right? So anyway, Mehdi Hassan was invited on by these people. And they got into a debate here about the power of the Israel lobby. Let's listen. Here we go.
I came into politics to defend Israel. They don't say that about any other country. I've never...
He's talking about Ted Cruz there.
Heard an American senator say, I came into politics to defend Belgium. Never heard it. Never heard anyone talk about any other country the way...
Just interject one more thing, if I may. That's not necessarily evidence of Israel having influence. It might well be a case of there are lots of people who live in America who believe, for whatever reason, for religious reasons or for geopolitical reasons, that this is a country with which America should have a close alliance.
Yeah, but why would you downplay the impact of the Israel lobby? Like, yeah, it can also be true that there's a bunch of religious psychopaths who think Israel is important for the rapture, but it's also true that Israel spends a ridiculous amount of money to basically buy American politicians to get their way when it comes to policy. Like, why would you downplay that angle of it, especially in this moment?
or for geopolitical reasons, that this is a country with which America should have a close alliance.
So 100% I agree with you. There are Christian evangelicals in this country who believe that the rapture will happen when all the Jews are gathered in this place, and they are even more hardcore pro-Israel than a lot of pro-Israeli Jews. That's 100% true. But there are also a bunch of people in American politics. I know, I've met them, I've interviewed them. They tell me this on and off the record, who are supporting Israel because they're worried about being primaried. They're worried about losing their jobs. They're worried about being called anti-Semitic. They're worried about being targeted by AIPAC. They're worried about being targeted by their political opponents, etc., etc. The idea that there isn't a very, very powerful pro-Israel lobby is absurd. Just as there is a very powerful gun lobby, just as there is a very powerful farmer lobby, right? It's funny that when we in this city, people are happy to say you're owned by the gun lobby, but for good reasons, because of anti-Semitic tropes, people don't want to say you're owned by the Israel lobby.
That's a great point. People have no problem saying you're owned by Big Pharma, you're owned by the military-industrial complex, you're owned by the gun lobby. But if you say, hey, you're owned by the Israel lobby, people get skittish. They don't want to say it, even though it's true of so many politicians, right? And yes, they're about to point out there are anti-Semitic tropes about Jewish money, but very explicitly and clearly, we're not talking about Jewish money. We're talking about the Israel lobby. There's a difference between the genocidal apartheid ethno-state of Israel and all Jews. There's a massive difference. In fact, a poll just came out. Only 32% of American Jews support this illegal and offensive war against Iran. Okay? That's something that 85 to 90% of Israelis support. There's a big difference between the...
I think with that amount, though, that's the reason that Trump thinks he can do this. And then they went, but see, he's also not including all the like evangelical Christians that believe they need to help. Okay. Just hold on. I know you say you're like too scared to type, or just type 1 if you're listening. Otherwise, I'm not going to go on a tangent. I'm just going to watch a little bit more.
Those communities. And we need to be clear, this is not the fault of your average Jewish person. Anti-Semitism is fucking stupid, right? But as much as we say that, you equally have to meet the moment and tell the truth and say the Israel lobby is a fucking problem and Zionism is a fucking problem.
But the fact is,
let me just
there is an Israel lobby that has massive oversized influence on American politics.
The distinction I'm trying to make, and I think it's an important one, and it's good that we're exploring this, which is I think the reason people worry about calling it the Israeli lobby versus the gun lobby is the Israeli lobby implies some kind of foreign influence.
It is that. It is foreign influence. So what? We have to be able to tell the truth. This is the fucking truth.
Where's the point that I think you and I are both making actually in agreement on is there are lots and lots of Americans who, for whatever reasons, their own personal reasons, view this as an important strategic alliance of the United States. Or
yes, but for the people in Washington, D.C., it is mostly not that. I will grant you, there are some Christian Zionist psychopaths. You could say Ted Cruz. You could say Mike Huckabee. You could say somebody like Rick Santorum, who's no longer in there. But the point still stands that for them, it's Israel lobby money, plus it's also genuinely religious and ideological, right? But for most of those politicians in D.C., these are educated people. And it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the AIPAC check or the DMFI check, right? Or the Israel lobby check. And now they have all sorts of ways to hide the fact that it's Israel lobby money. It's like a shell game. Elect Chicago Women is this group that donated to it. And it turns out that's like fucking AIPAC, basically, right? So I don't know why why is he so insistent on not telling the truth about that? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Their own personal reasons view this as an important strategic alliance of the United States or a religious worldview or whatever. So, and I think that's where the distinction becomes difficult.
I think you're in good faith, overstating the other part of the argument, maybe for argument's sake or devil's advocacy. All I'm saying is, let me give you one example. When you ask Democratic voters, do you support what Israel's doing in Gaza? 8%, according to one poll, said we support it. The
Democrats don't support it.
The vast majority don't support it. When you go look at Democrats in Congress, the vast majority do support it. There's an absolute disconnect. The numbers are reversed.
And
yes, and why is that? Because of the Israel lobby money.
Why is that?
That's exactly my point. Why is that? It's not because they're all out for self. It's because they're lobbied by various lobbies, the military-industrial complex, which also has interest in war, the pro-Israel lobby, vast influence to do.
And it says underneath here, like, oh, this isn't just the case with Israel; it's the case with all these other issues as well. And again, that's the point. Because of money in politics, because of the corrupting influence of big money, yes, you get a Democratic electorate, or I should say, Democratic politicians who disagree with the base on Israel, disagree with the base on gun reform, disagree with the base on raising taxes on the rich. And, you go through the list. So it's the same point. It's just, for whatever reason, when you talk about Israel, all of a sudden you're not allowed to say it. You're not allowed to be honest about it.
There's money in politics that influence a lot of positions in this country. You're in this town. This whole town is very corrupt, right? The way you influence people is through money, and the same thing with Israel. By the way, you mentioned foreign lobbying. Well, I said Israel lobby, not Israeli lobby, the lobby for Israel. That can be Americans. But let's just be clear, there's a long history of people trying to get the pro-Israel lobby to register as a foreign agent, just as some pro-Arab lobbies have to register as foreign agents. You go back to RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He wanted to register, the precursor to AIPAC. Senator William Leahy, very famous Democrat senator in the 70s, said we should register as a foreign lobby. So there's been a debate for a long time.
Yeah, and they've blocked it every step of the way. They've blocked doing that. The trigonometry guys, man, I mean, they were one of very few voices who were out there at the beginning of this illegal and offensive war in Iran who were basically supporting it, right? Who were basically supporting it.
Yeah, no, the British guy, he's like an Israeli fucking shill or something, or he's not Israeli, but he just lies all the time. And like, you could tell him like some straight up facts, like, oh, dude, look, Israel just dropped a chemical weapon on Lebanon. He'll be like, oh, okay, and like, that guy's fucking brain dead, and debating him does nothing. Let's see what else he's got right now.
All right, welcome to the show, y'all. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to get to. So in just a second, I'm not kidding when I say this, even though it sounds like a nightmare. The UN is officially preparing for a nuclear exchange, for nuclear war. That's how devastating this is. In fact, we have people resigning from the UN to sound the alarm and basically be a whistleblower and say, this is how uncharted this territory is that we're currently in. So we'll talk about that. We also have Trump is now saying the quiet part out loud yet again. He's openly saying and admitting that his goal here is to steal Iran's oil in the same way he's stealing Venezuela's oil. We have certain parts of a desalination plant being hit already. You guys know that this can eventually get to the point where all the desalination plants are hit and the Middle East becomes uninhabitable. So, again, to say that this is a dire warning or a dire situation is the understatement of the century. I also have just countless examples of Trump's brain is officially degrading into rotten mush right in front of our eyes. We have a desperate Joe Rogan panicking and trying to distance himself from MAGA and throwing MAGA under the bus. And then later on, we have Emma Vigeland smacking around a bunch of CNN warmongers. And the Diet MAGA Democrats currently have a very severe case of Hassan derangement syndrome. And oh boy, will we talk about that. We have a lot to say about that one. So you guys know the drill. Everybody do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon. That helps out big time. Liar in human history that's currently occupying the White House. Okay, look at the broader economic impact here. Price increases since the start of the Iran war. Heating oil is up 77%. European natural gas up 71%. Brent crude is up 58%. WTI crude oil up 51%. Diesel or urea up 48%. Diesel up 44%. Sulfur up 43%. Gasoline up 42%. Fertilizer 29%. Coal 21%. Palm oil 14%. Iron ore 7%. Rice 7%. U.S. natural gas up 6%. So that's not good. That is not good. And of course, this is going to hit working people the hardest. Developing countries are already barbecue chicken, dog. They already have long lines. They're already rationing gas. It's already a nightmare scenario. And this is slowly but surely going to spread throughout the world. And then you're also going to have a situation. It's not just limited to gas. Oil and gas is sort of like the lifeblood of the modern economy. So you're also going to have a situation where grocery prices skyrocket, for example. You're going to have a situation so that we have a shortage of fertilizer. And when there's a shortage of fertilizer, you're going to have a food shortage. The farmers are going to struggle. Like, there are so many cascading downstream consequences of this that our idiot-in-chief did not consider or simply does not care about. Okay, so Trump spoke to the Financial Times. Ready for this? This one is rough. He wants to seize Iran's oil. Quote, to be honest with you, my favorite thing is to take the oil in Iran. Again, he just admits it. It's so crazy. He just admits it. He has verbal diarrhea. He's like basically begging the international community to arrest his ass and throw him in The Hague. He's doing the same thing he did with Venezuela, where he stole their oil and sold it and put hundreds of millions of dollars in a personal bank account in Qatar. He's just saying it. He's just saying it. Specifically, he's considering taking Karg Island, Iran's main oil export hub. He compares it to Venezuela, saying the U.S. could control the oil there indefinitely. He claims Iran has no real defense there. Quote, I don't think they have any defense. We could take it very easily. He acknowledges it would require occupation. Quote, it would also mean we had to be there for a while. Trump claims the scale of the bombing, quote, we've bombed 13,000 targets. We've got about 3,000 targets left. He claims regime change has effectively already happened, and he describes the new leadership as a totally different group of people and very professional. Now, again, notice, though, he said this on Sunday night or Monday, because, again, he's trying to calm the markets about all this shit. This is a truly unprecedented situation. So take a look at this. The S&P 500 has now erased nearly $4.5 trillion in market cap since the Iran war began on February 28th. 4.5 trillion, y'all. All right, we also have this scenario. This is something we talked about the other day, but Iranian missiles and drones hit an airbase in Saudi Arabia, injuring 10 U.S. service members and damaging U.S. refueling planes. So the Wall Street Journal reported on this, and as you can see here, look at the destruction and the devastation. Now, by the way, as you all know, our massive radar sites in the Middle East were bombed within like the first day or two of this war. Well, then after that, they started using these radar planes. Some of these radar planes have now also been hit. While we're having the conversation, just understand this is billions and billions and billions of dollars immediately up in smoke. Immediately up in smoke. Also, what's Trump doing as he launches World War III? He's been golfing nonstop at Mar-a-Lago and basically hiding down in South Florida. I mean, you literally can't make this stuff up. He spent $100 million so far this second term golfing. And by the way, same regime that cut pediatric cancer research and Meals on Wheels, because that was too expensive, but $100 million for golfing and having a radar plane blow up every other day, and U.S. fighter jets get blown up by Iran every other day. And then, by the way, they also lie about it after the fact. That's a super important point. So look at this. New image reportedly showing the USAF E-3 Sentry destroyed in an Iranian attack at Prince Sultan Air Base on Friday. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You see the absolute destruction. I mean, this thing is done. This thing is over. There's no rehabbing this, right? And CENTCOM lied about it. The fact that CENTCOM downplayed this hit and the Wall Street Journal reported the aircraft as only being, quote, damaged should tell you something about how credible the American public pronouncements are becoming at this juncture of the conflict. That's exactly right. I hate to say it, but it's factually true. If you had to choose to either take the word of the Iranian government or the U.S. government at this point, you would be crazy to take the word of the U.S. government. They have lied more often and repeatedly than the Iranian government has. Now, that doesn't mean that the Iranian government has been perfectly truthful. Sometimes they overstate numbers as well when it suits them and understates it when it suits them. But the fact of the matter is the Iranian government has a much better track record of telling the truth than the U.S. government at this point. So Mohammed Safa says the following. Previously with the UN, he says, I don't think people understand the gravity of the situation as the UN is preparing for possible nuclear weapon use in Iran. This is a picture of Tehran for you uneducated, untraveled, never served war hawks licking your chops at the thought of bombing it. It's not some low population desert. There are families, children, family pets, regular working class people with dreams. You're sick to want war. Tehran is a city of nearly 10 million people. Imagine nuking Washington, Berlin, Paris, London, or beyond, bombed with nuclear weapons. I gave up my diplomatic career to leak this information. He gave up his career to say, they're prepping for nuclear war and not telling anybody about it. I suspended my duties so as to not be part of or witness to this crime against humanity in an attempt to prevent a nuclear winter before it's too late. Yesterday, nearly 10 million people protested No Kings in the United States. The possibility of the use of nuclear weapons must be taken very seriously. It's dangerous. Act now. Spread this message worldwide. Take to the streets. Protest for our humanity and future. Only the people can stop it. History will remember. And this is what I keep telling you. Trump is going to order this ground invasion. It's going to be an absolute catastrophe. You're going to have countless dead American soldiers. Then to try to save face, he's going to say, nuke them. That's what's going to happen. And everybody's acting like this is not the juncture that we're at. It is. It absolutely is. And now you have people who were employed by the UN going, hey, by the way, here's what's in the works. And everybody's just acting like it's a normal day, like it's a normal time. And by the way, look, yes, this is a picture of Tehran. Look at what Tehran looks like. They're considering nuking this. I told you in the first term, Trump considered nuking hurricanes because he thought maybe it'll stop them in their tracks. And he had to get talked out of it by the adults in the room. Well, now there are no adults in the room. There's none. So this is, God, I struggle to find the words to adequately get across to you this current place that we're in. Okay, the 30-year Treasury yield closed at 4.98%, getting very close to the highest level since the run-up to the global financial crisis. So we are on the brink of something big, something massive. Everybody feels it, everybody knows it, and it's about to unfold, and all of the signs are there. All right, from Dropsite News. Report, BBC Verify says footage and expert analysis indicate a U.S. precision strike missile was likely used in the March 9th strike on a sports hall in Lamerd, Iran, where children were training, killing at least 21 people, including young girls. High-resolution satellite imagery reviewed by BBC shows the sports hall and nearby residential buildings destroyed, while the adjacent IRGC compound appears to have remained undamaged, okay? So, absolutely devastating. The more time goes by, the more evidence of war crimes comes out. Breaking, the USS Tripoli has arrived in the Middle East carrying 3,500 sailors and Marines amid reports that the U.S. is preparing for a potential ground operation in Iran, per CNN. Now remember, they have a total of 50,000 troops on call for Operation Epstein Fury. 50,000. All right, breaking, power cut in Tehran and elsewhere following attacks on energy facilities in Tehran, Iran's Ministry of Energy says. So, and we'll talk more about this, I believe, in a little bit, but they've repeatedly bombed nuclear power plants in Iran, repeatedly. And again, I don't see nearly enough talk about this. I don't see nearly enough coverage in the media. I don't see, the U.S. government condemning it. It's just day after day, I think 3 times to be exact, they carpet bombed a nuclear power plant. This is not like something that you can do and then there's like no consequences and no fallout. This immediately is going to lead to basically poisoning an entire region of the world and making it uninhabitable.
It needs to lead to Trump and Netanyahu in front of a fucking firing squad.
Do people not remember the Chernobyl disaster? Do they not remember 3 Mile Island? Do they not remember, what happens when you destroy a nuclear power?
That's normally what countries do when you have like a treasonous fucking piece of shit that's trying to fuck like a war criminal, all that, Because I know they got both of those people. They got too many connections to just go stick them in a prison. Next thing you know, it's Jeffrey Epstein killed himself all over again. So yeah, no. I mean, we just got to grow some balls and use the death penalty where it's needed. Where it's needed, though.
Power plant, Fukushima, for example, is another one. Like, hello, wakey, wakey, and apparently nobody is awake, and I don't know what to do about that. So take a look at this. The Pentagon used an untested missile in combat and it hit a girls' volleyball practice in Iran. The New York Times confirmed that a precision strike missile, a weapon that only finished prototype testing last year, struck a sports hall and an elementary school in Lamerd on the first day of the war. At least 21 people were killed, including 2 schoolgirls aged 10 and 11 and their volleyball coach. The USA, now confirmed by the New York Times, bombed 2 schools in 1 day in Iran, murdering over 200 children, 25 times more kids than died on 9/11. And on Western media, Trump and Netanyahu still get airtime, and Iran is supposed to be the bad actor. Yeah, my ass cheeks. It turns out the actual strategy, the plan, it is purposeful to go after civilian infrastructure and innocent people. That's what the axis of Epstein is doing. And they want to do that. It's not an oopsie. It's not collateral damage, as some dippies out there will have you believe. No, this is the point. They're doing what they want to do. All right, so here's the aftermath of one of the bombings on the Iran University of Science and Technology. Those terrorists at that school for science and technology. Look at this. Here's another one. It's just terrible, man. It's just absolutely terrible. Iran's IRGC issued statement on Saturday threatening to target American and Israeli universities in the region, warning students and staff to stay 1 kilometer away in retaliation for strikes on Iranian universities. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to hear shit when U.S. and Israeli universities start getting hit, start getting destroyed, I don't want to hear Dickie McGee's axe. Shut the fuck up. Because it has been, what, we bombed literally like hundreds of schools before they said, okay, I guess we got to respond in kind. They sat there and they took it and they took it and they took it and they took it. And then eventually they were like, all right, I guess we got to do the same thing back to them. So I don't know about you guys. I want to live in a world where international law matters. I want to live in a world where we're already at 850 Tomahawk missiles that have been launched in this. Illegal war in this one. And as Adam Johnson points out, if you're wondering, just the cost of the missiles alone could have paid for the salaries of over 50,000 teachers for a year. So we are choosing to terrorize the world in a fascist imperialist crusade. We're choosing to do that over paying our men and women here a decent, livable wage for being teachers. Incredible. The United States and Israel illegally, criminally, and deliberately attacked for the third time a nuclear facility in Iran, creating this way the risk of a nuclear catastrophe with mass civilian casualties. That's not just a violation of international law, it's nuclear terrorism. And here's what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Again, next to no talk about this. Next to no talk about this. All right. This image from the Financial Times shows how the war in Iran could have dramatic effects on global food security. Without natural gas, ammonia, and urea, key nitrogen fertilizers cannot be produced. Look at this. This is a huge deal right here. Without them, crop yields collapse. So that's a huge deal. And as is pointed out here, all of Bangladesh's fertilizer plants are fully shut in a country of more than 170 million people to feed. So as with most things, what's going to happen is the poor are going to suffer first. They're going to bear the brunt of it, right? So the developing countries are going to be the hardest hit. Then the mid-tier countries. Then the most economically powerful countries, okay? So right now we're already looking at multiple fuel catastrophes in Asian nations. And this is only going to spread. And when you talk about the impact of fertilizer, you're talking about basically global famine conditions where we don't have enough food for everybody that needs food. And again, you think this government thought about it at all? You think Trump gives a shit, thought about it, planned for it, has a plan B, has a plan C? No, they have no idea what the fuck they're doing. This is a baboon regime. This is a regime by whim of 12-year-old boy. That's what it is. So
I'm thinking either like this administration, our president, like they either know exactly what they're fucking doing and they know how they're gonna come out on top and call it a win, or I think Trump just fucks over the country. I mean, I could see them faking his death, or because he should get impeached, but he should get impeached and arrested. But if that doesn't happen, then that we're still under control. That's one thing I would say. Or maybe he just goes and says, okay, I'm going to Israel, bye guys. Or just going somewhere, just leaves the country. I don't know. They gotta know a lot of things that I don't.
everybody's basically scrambling. They're on their own. And so effectively what's going to happen is China's going to have to somehow be the adult, not just in the room, in the world. And they're going to have to find a way to mitigate this because nobody trusts the U.S. to give a shit. Forget about the world. The American government doesn't even give a fuck about Americans. It's so out of bounds. It's so wild. All right, Bloomberg says U.S. government officials and Wall Street analysis are starting to consider the prospect that oil might surge to an unprecedented $200 a barrel. Y'all, as I talk to you right now, the gas I saw was $3.99. That's got to be roughly where the average in the country is, okay? We're starting to get to historic like numbers I can't recall ever seeing. We're starting to see that. And they're saying, oh, it's only going to go up and up and up from here. Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times, he says, 2 weeks ago, the United States denounced Iran for using cluster bombs against Israel, rightly calling them an inherently indiscriminate type of munition. Now it appears that the U.S. or Israel is using American cluster bombs against Iran. If that is not the perfect encapsulation of the axis of Epstein, I don't know what is. We're going to condemn you and cling to international law when you do something that crosses a line. But we will then cross that same line and then some. And in fact, we crossed the line first. Of course, Israel's using white phosphorus in Lebanon. They commit war crimes on a daily basis. They're about to execute like all of the Palestinian hostages that they hold, including thousands of children. Okay? And they have the nerve to say, oh, how dare you violate international law. Are you fucking kidding me? Is this a sick joke? It is.
Yeah, so the quick note about the Israeli prison system. There was a group of guards that got caught raping a male prisoner for graping. That's not what I said. But anyways, they didn't arrest the prisoners. They actually they didn't arrest the guards that did that to the prisoner. They just let him go. And then on top of that, they arrested the lady that posted the video that exposed them. So that should tell you about those kind of people, is that, they're just raping the prisoners. They get let out, but the person that told everybody that they raped the prisoners got arrested. Just whatever the fuck. And then, yeah, they just signed a law that says that they can kill Palestinian prisoners. And basically all of the prisoners there haven't even been charged with, like, a lot of them haven't even been charged with anything. There's kids that got charged with, like, throwing a rock at a soldier, Just, they passed a law that made it legal for them to kill the prisoners there today. I mean, they're basically hostages, so... You gotta hope that they start letting people go. Otherwise, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't hear much from the prisons pretty soon here.
It's a sick joke, isn't it?
Because they're just gonna go ham.
Arnaud Bertrand says the following. Was discussing tonight with a friend of mine who is in the business of chicken food, as in the food you feed chicken, one of the largest such businesses out there. Turns out chickens quite literally eat oil. Chicken feed requires methionine, a key amino acid produced with sulfur, itself extracted as a byproduct of oil refinement. And so, as a direct consequence of the oil shock, there's now apparently major issues in the poultry industry. Really insane to think about how deep the consequences of Trump's war on Iran go and how dependent on oil we are. Even chickens will go hungry globally because of this, and humans will inevitably follow. It's not even the case that, hey, there's oil shock and a gas shock, and it's limited to that. No, it expands beyond that, but it even expands far beyond what many, well-educated people who know this stuff thought. It goes beyond what I thought. It literally impacts everything in the economy. Things become unaffordable. We don't have enough food. I mean, if you can find a connection...
The bottom line about the gas price is, if that goes up, everything goes up because they got to bring the products to you.
To fucking chicken... I'm telling you, it's absolutely everywhere. There's going to be a disaster. And by the way, we only have, a week or two left of some sense of normalcy, even though gas is already through the roof. Only a week or two left of some sense of normalcy before the shit really hits the fucking fan. The World Uncertainty Index just reached a new all-time high, higher than COVID, higher than 9/11, higher than the 2008 financial crisis. Because on some level, deep down, everybody understands that nukes are a real motherfucking possibility. And the Middle East becoming completely and utterly uninhabitable is a real motherfucking possibility. And the Strait of Hormuz being permanently shut is a real motherfucking possibility. And the global order has just totally fallen apart right in front of our eyes. Everybody gets it. The Wall Street Journal says Israel has begun rationing its use of high-end missile interceptors, hoping to preserve stocks of its most capable defensive weapons in the face of daily Iranian barrages. So Imperial arrogance and hubris led the U.S. and Israel, the axis of Epstein,
right.
to perpetuate.
I can only take so much of that shit. Okay. Just play a game.
Super Battle Goal!
Epstein's own. Hell, yo! Oh my god, I shot the ground. I'm actually autistic. Dude, it feels like the swing power is like retarded. I'm not gonna make it.
Oh, finished!
Bro, there's no way he has like an actual picture of Kash Patel that came out of the leak. That's fucking hilarious, dude. Iran leaked Kash Patel's pictures, and he's got his fucking picture as his Steam profile. What a savage. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I can do that too, bro. Bitch ass. Okay. We got a good position. Aw, damn it. I didn't mean to hit him. Sorry, bro. L.
10 seconds remaining.
L. Fuck this kid. Come here, buddy.
Overtime. Finished.
What the hell was that? Finish the day. Okay. I'm not late.
That's a robbery.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Let's go!
Okay. Right into the item. Thanks, bro. Oh, come on. That's so close. Fucking got it. Thank you guys. Oh my missile to the dome. Fuck you. Ah, that went too far. Fuck you. I'm just knocking people. I'm not even fucking scoring, gang.
one, go!
Someone's got a hole in one. Ooh. Home run, buddy. Okay. Oh, that gave me a boost. That was hard. Fuck you. He died? Yes, he died. Ah, no!
10 seconds remaining.
Got second. I locked in.
One more time. Finish.
Was that it? Oh, suck. Goodbye. Fuck that kid. Alright. One more. Just join this shit. You gonna start it? Lobby closed.
Actually pick out the Tiki Thompson guy. Tipson, whatever his fucking name is. Kick him out. Kick him out, yeah. I'm actually mad. I played 23 holes. I'm not dealing with your bullshit, man.
because I'm playing the game.
Alex, kick him out. Yeah, kick him out.
Yeah. Wait, who am I kicking? Who am I kicking, bro?
Tiki Thompson. Tiki Tipson. He has 0 points on the
I'm so close to the hole, bro. I'm so close to the hole, dude. Yo, this fucking Schmidt guy is hitting my ball everywhere back and forth, bro. He's like a man,
Which is a piece of shit, bro.
I can't fucking kick one guy. This other guy.
Come on.
Alright. Yo, wait, hold up. Don't
fucking bitch. Who was that?
Hold up. Okay,
this fucking bitch.
Alright, just kick that guy. Alright. Schmidt, don't do it. I got powers of the fucking Reddit moderator. Alright.
It's this guy, Alex.
It makes a piece of shit, brother.
I let you make the putt.
I like gold. Okay.
Oh, finally.
Tickle Tipson.
Finally
Tickle
got
Tipson.
points. Yay. Nobody likes to snitch, buddy.
Oh my God.
Second place, you. Yikes.
First place pawn.
0 points, buddy. Yikes.
What happened, buddy?
You can't complain about 0 points in this game.
I have literally infinitely more points than you.
Good boy.
Good boy.
Ow. You know what? Whoever Schmidt you actually helped me out there, I'm not even mad, buddy. Okay, whoever did this laser, I'm actually mad at. No, Boonstar, come here, buddy. Schmidt, don't. Oh, you. Oh, you hit my ball towards. Schmidt, you're a good man. You're a good man, Schmidt.
Ah, why me?
Fuck away from me. Oh no.
Oh,
Look at you for swinging at me.
Pick a person.
Stop you like that, Matt.
Both of you are dead now.
Come on, let me get the spawn. Let me get the spawn.
Come on,
buddy.
dude. This stuff be fun.
Nice. I got an autism lobby. It sounds like Happy got lisp.
One kebab, I swear on my mother.
Hey, come on, please. I'm trying to get out of here. Please.
You guys, I'm excited. I joined in the community known as an easy lobby. We call them lisp lobbies. We listen to the tism and then we jump in. I used to do shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pizza and shit.
You gotta be fucking with me, bro.
Wait, who just said that? What's your in-game name? Say it. Say it proudly.
the only guy with the speech impediment talking about lists.
No, honestly, that's kind of cool. I like it. He's got to practice somehow, right? Otherwise, how's he gonna get pussy? You guys, I kind of think the guy with the speech impediment, his name is Poncer Meanin. That would only make sense.
Oh, damn it.
Oh, it's so funny.
Am I wrong? Poncer Meanin is the one with the lead. With the lead
No, it's
impediment.
Come on, dude.
Poncer Meanin. It's okay.
What were you
Try to
trying to
say it
spell,
right.
bro?
It's okay, bro. You try to say it right.
Oh, you live.
4 people actually finished this hole. That's
Why wouldn't they? It's one of the easiest holes in the game. What are these retards doing that didn't finish?
Me, what happened?
oh my god.
Oh my god. I'm in 13th place. You guys suck.
Alright. I have no more social battery for now. Long day. And I had 3 hours of sleep last night. So I'm ending now. Everybody have a good one.